today I want to share what I want to actually share that I've been learning all this while, which is actually how to integrate Firebase Machine Learning. And the next thing that I will be sharing is actually how to use Flutter with Firebase Machine Learning. So a little bit of myself. My name is Jason. So I'm actually from a company called Blood. We actually previously we vended from, and we actually previously as a pslove called pslove. So we've actually been coding since the age of 17. So what is Blood? So Blood is actually a regional fintech startup founded since 2014. So we actually have two main products. One is a hitch patch on the left. The other one is a peer tracker on the right. Also part of the Google for Startup ecosystem, which is actually a program by Google. So right now I'm going to share what is the how to integrate Firebase machine learning. So the first way you can actually integrate is actually very simple. We can actually use whatever there is a pre-trained model by Google Cloud, where you can actually use ranging from a text recognition to maybe a translation kind of API, and it's all plug and play. All you need to do is input the input data that you need, and you'll give you output as you actually require. And the second way is actually use TensorFlow Lite with teachable machine, which is a tool to actually help you to enable a better way of easy way to actually integrate your and to train your custom model. So let me do an example. So you can see this is actually the pre-trained model that have been done, and actually input all the data that's in is all here. So you can actually all you need to do is actually a tool where you can actually all you need to do is actually put in your label that you want to actually recognize and all the data set that you need to actually train. And once you have put in all the data, you can actually train it. And lastly, you can actually test out whether it works. As you can see right now, all you can do, you can see that how is it work. You can see the output easily by using. You can see whether is it accurate. So this is actually what you can do that is actually trained. You can see. So this one, if you can actually see that if it's not good enough, you can actually train. And this can see that the accuracy is actually can train on the fly. And you think that this is not sacrifice, it's not good enough, you can retrain again and retry again like this. So this is actually a way to actually train it. And once you have done that, you can actually export into a different kind of export, either use it for web, either use it for embedded system, or even for mobile app, Android or iOS. So once you've done that, you can see something like this, which I'm going to show you on this. So once you have done that, you can actually either embed it and upload to a Firebase custom model and serve dynamically from the backend, or you can use it to actually embed it into your mobile app. So on the video, you can see that this is actually how we can actually see that the training has been quite effective and can recognize the object that have been trained. In this case, these are the product that have been trained to recognize the product. So all you need to do is actually just use the camera, a normal camera from the phone, and train it, and you can see the output. So the third way that we can actually integrate with Firebase machine learning is to make use of Cloud Auto ML. So this is the one where if you think that the use case that you have cannot use by the previous two example, either a pre-trained model or using a TensorFlow with a teachable machine, you can actually use this called AutoML, where your complex, maybe you need a multi-label classification, where single label is not enough for a use case. So this is a third example, which is actually handle more customized way of integration with Firebase. So let's go with Flutter with Firebase machine learning in action. So over the weekend in June, my colleague and I actually participate in the Flutter International Hackathon, and for me, I actually want to actually make my skill set to actually like try out how do I integrate machine learning with Flutter. So what we have built is actually using using machine learning powered by Firebase to actually do a kind of record temperatures within seconds. All you need to do is actually take a selfie, a Wi-Fi photo, and also a thermometer screen photo. So how does it work is that, as you can see in this demo, this actually, the output is actually that what you need to do is actually take a photo. You actually recognize all the images, all the faces that is detected in the picture. And in each picture, I can actually use different use case to actually recognize different temperature kind of recognition for each use case. So in this case, this is actually using a kind of text detection pre-trained model, but with my own some kind of logic to actually detect temperature. So at the end of the day, this temperature you can actually detect it and without the need to actually manually type using keyboard to actually manually type one by one. And all this is done within seconds. And you can see this is actually a live kind of temperature scanning and detect and convert it into text. So this is actually the output, and this app also trying to flag any temperature that's more than 37.5. So all in all, in this Retrotrack app, this is actually split into three, in terms of the workflow, split into three sets. One is actually the camera, which is actually that actually generate the image. And for this image, we will feed this to a Firebase ML. Then from this, we use of the text detections API and also the face detection API, and you output the list of either a text or the faces that is detected, and we transform it using the Retrotrack app, and we came out the output like this. So you can see, just use two photos, and we can translate the output that we need, and without the need to actually manually do it. So let's go through in depth how did each use case that actually done in terms of coding. So the first two use case is actually individual and group detections. So how does we actually detect single person in the photo or multiple person in the photo? So what we actually done is actually use Firebase face detection, and we'll show you the image that we want to actually detect, and they'll return us a list of faces that's detected with the metadata. In this case, it's actually the boundary box that they actually will tell us what is the location of the faces in the photo. And from there, we can actually either crop it or maybe do some other processing. So the next one that actually done is the third use case, which is temperature text detection. So in this case, we need to actually detect different thermometer that is actually required to actually detect. So, and also there may be a case where they have more than one temperature reading. So what this is done is actually using the Google Cloud text detection recognition API, and you'll return a list of text block. As you can see on the right, these are the possible text block that is generated from this API. And from here, they will give you, these are the potential candidate for the temperature they want to scan. So in this case, we need to actually determine how this is done by using a very simple algorithm to detect whether once it's actually detected that these are texts, these are actually digits. And from there, we'll filter and to detect, just do a simple kind of algorithm in terms of like, if this temperature is actually is within the range of the human temperature, which is about 30 plus to 40 plus. But in this case, I use 20 to 50 to get buffer, because sometimes the thermometer may generate lower than 30 degrees Celsius. So, but this is actually a simple way of algorithm that's done during a hackathon within 24 hours. So once it is detected and found the right candidate for the temperature, we will turn it into a text. And in this case, we'll read like 36.3. So all in all, this is actually the Retrotrack, which is actually how to use a pre-trained model, which is the first use case that actually the first way that actually used to actually train, and using using a combination of text detection and face detection, we can able to actually recognize the faces and also the thermometer temperatures and get the output we want, which is the crop faces and also the temperature. So the key takeaway about this talk is two things. Is actually there are actually three ways which you can actually use to actually integrate the Firebase ML. So each use case is depend on the how complex is your use cases, and how whether do you need a pre-train or do you need to have a more customized or more complex kind of a use case. Then you may use a different train model. So at the second part, which is actually you can actually use Flutter with Firebase Machine Learning, and you can actually develop a machine learning powered app within 24 hours. And of course, as you actually build longer, you can actually improve the app as you go along. But in terms of proof of concept, this is actually the good way to actually use this Flutter with Firebase to actually do some prototype and to get the use case that you want or the app that you want to build. So lastly, hopefully I able to persuade you with the Flutter that I actually demonstrated to you, and also hopefully you actually use the Firebase machine learning tool with Flutter. And I actually have a Medium series, so I actually have an article about this talk on my Medium blog. So if you're actually interested, do follow me on Medium. And lastly, thank you so much for talking that actually listen to me. So I actually will, if you have any questions, please feel free to actually write it on the live chat, or maybe later on I actually will follow up with you. Thank you so much.
The question is, how do you improve the accuracy of using Retrotrack to record temperatures?
So for this, in my use case in the app that I built, a simple kind of logic to actually determine just using like 20 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius to find the range. So how do I improve is actually, to me, I actually need to train even further, like all the possible temperature that I actually needed to get, and also to first, like the moment there's a multiple images that have this same temperature, then we need to actually find out which is the most suitable candidate. So perhaps I need to have a lot of images of all these temperature readings that actually to train my model so that I'll have a very accurate way of tracking the temperature. Yeah.
How do you know which temperature is whose in the case of multiple faces in the picture?
Yeah, so this is actually the one that this is actually a very use case that I actually like trying to do during my hackathon. So the thing is right now I actually do a second way of tracking. That means once the photo is detected, you can see that the photo is actually let me go to that. So if you can see in this photo, it will give you a range, like a photo that is like all the captured images in sequence 1 to 5, for example. Then I will actually will highlight the first photo. Then you take the temperature of this person. Then you record that temperature of that that's captured from the thermometer. So this is actually sequence lah. But of course, if I have more time, then I'll have a way of like detect the temperature and the face together. So this is actually my future kind of my side project that I'll be doing lah.